Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Kat Talks, and it's a place where I talk about books and cross-stitch. And this is going to be a cross-stitching video, so if you're here for book report, I haven't read very much. I read Our Dark Duet, no, Our Savage Song, whichever the first one is, loved it. Anyway, hi to Flosstube. Hi, it has been a while. I think it's been quite a few months since I was last on YouTube, let alone on Flosstube. I haven't been very well for the last 2 or 3 months, but I am feeling a lot better now. So I figured since I'm going back to work on Monday and it's Saturday, January the 2nd now, I would give you guys a quick update / WIP parade / look back at 2020. So let's start. So I came into the year with 2 WIPs. The first one, the oldest one, was this one, Harvest Mice by Heritage Stitchcraft, which is stitched on 14 count Ada by Zweigart. This is a piece that I started a long time ago and that I rescued from the UK, which is where I used to live, just in, I think, December, when we were there in early December. I'll give you a closer look. I don't know how much you can see. I will say that if I stitch another Heritage, or if I buy myself another Heritage Stitchcraft, I won't choose Ada. That's not just a personal preference. These patterns have a lot of half stitches and quarter stitches. So a half stitch is where you do the same length of a cross, but you only go half the width, or half the length and total of the width. But a lot of fractional stitches in this one, and I didn't feel like it was really designed for Ada. It was really difficult and a tricky stitch, which is probably why I put it down when I was a lot younger, when I first started it. But this is a present for my father, whose birthday is coming up. So hopefully, hopefully I'll be able to get it in the post with all of the new rules and get it to him for his birthday. So I finished this on the 28th of August, so not that long ago actually. The last backstitching went in on the 28th of August. Okay, and the second WIP that I joined the year with, or came into the year with, was Words to Live By. So let's just find that in the box of WIPs. So this was a weekly sal by Tiny Modernist. No, it wasn't, it was a monthly sal. Sal means stitch along, S-A-L. This was a monthly stitch along by Tiny Modernist, but I joined quite late, so I didn't get to join in when everyone else was. I started stitching this on the 22nd of October 2019, and I believe that I finished only these 3 blocks, maybe this one, in 2019, and the rest was done in 2020. I was actually looking like I might make it with this one within a year of starting it, so I would have finished it in October, but unfortunately, as I said, I got very unwell in September and October, so all stitching was kind of delayed a lot. But yeah, I still love this piece. I'm still enjoying working on it. The colours are so bright and cheerful. However, this is stitched on a 14 count Zweigart or RTO. I think it's Zweigart that I picked up from Amazon. It's only just big enough for the image. It doesn't have much of a framing margin. But my main concern is that the holes are, well, you know how on Ada there's a square of fabric, and then inside the square there are 4 tiny holes at the very edges, which is just how the fabric is woven. On this fabric, more than any other, it's very easy to accidentally catch a thread over. So I have to be really careful when I'm stitching on this one, on this fabric, to make sure that I'm not like making my stitches too big or too small. So I'm not enjoying that part. And I also promised myself that I would only ever stitch on one black Ada at a time, one project on black Ada at a time, because of this project. So yes, but I am enjoying it and I'm so close to a finish. I've only got those 4 blocks left. I even finished the border, which I almost never finish the border first, so I've been using this for a lot of challenges and prompts in the Enchanted Stitching challenges. So hopefully that will continue into the new year. Oh, my arms are achy already. It's like a workout, this. So, now we're on to things I started in 2020. So, let's have a look. The first piece I started in 2020 was this Wheelbarrow and Flowers. I have shown you this before, but it was a lot smaller back then. So let me just take it off the... Oh, actually, I could do a Brenda and only take off the edge that's actually got stitching on it and be smart. Maybe. Oh, I hate Q-snaps. I'm so bad at getting Q-snaps off. There we go. So, oh, I didn't show you what Words to Live By is supposed to look like, but I don't have a picture, so use your imagination. So this is what I call Wheelbarrow with butterflies. It doesn't have a real name. It's a stitch kit by Permin, who are from, I think, Denmark, and they don't tend to name their kits for some reason. But this is stitched on a 14 count white Aida, with obviously the kit fabric and the kit threads. And this is what it looks like so far. I'm really enjoying this stitch. I actually used it for a lot of different things. So the wheelbarrow is stitched in diagonal parking to try that out. And then the arms here and the first, I think, 2 rows of green were with normal parking, 10 by 10 squares. So I did the wheelbarrow first, and then I swapped to the grass. As you can see, I'm slowly working my way towards the red flowers there. But yes, I discovered that I do not like diagonal parking. It is not the way my brain works. But I do enjoy parking, just not on projects like this. So I think for smaller projects, I probably won't be parking. I do enjoy parking, and one of my pieces, I think the next piece, no, soon anyway, I do use parking for the bigger designs. But yes, so that is the front. And then I'll just let you see the back. Like I said, I am really enjoying this. From here on out, I've just been picking a thread and then using it until I run out and then picking up another thread. I've also, for this one, I think this was the first time that I highlighted on the chart from the beginning because I was parking, and I'm going to highlight all of my charts from now on, and I don't even care. In fact, I will talk about that later because I had a bit of a breakthrough on marking charts. But yes, this is how far I got with this one. It's actually so close to being done. I don't know why. It's just not been calling to me lately. Probably because it's quite wintry and cold. Santa Claus time. Fix that later. Also, this is in a project bag, just an A4 bag. I need to buy some more. They're not quite big enough for the 11 by 11 Q-snaps, so I need to make some more, really, project bags. Right, so that was my spring/birthday start, so then we're on to Mania. So this year so much fabric. So this year I wanted to take part in Mania, but I already felt like I had a little bit too much on with trying to finish the mice for Christmas, which obviously I did do but didn't send, and the pandemic and everything. So I thought I'll start a new start every week. So that is actually what I did. I started a new thing I think it was every Monday. So the first thing I started, no it wasn't, I actually started this a bit earlier. I started this on the 19th of April because I needed a new start, and I used threads from a project I've shown on this channel before, but just threads from my stash, and I stitched this little Be Well by the Blackberry Rabbit, which I managed to FFO into a pillow. I've shown this before, but it's just a little bee in a little heart wreath, and then matching fabric on the back. And this sits in our entrance hall in a little bowl to say welcome to people when they come in. And I finished that in just 4 days. So I started it on the 19th of April and I finished it on the 23rd. And then we come to Mania. So I wanted to do something to mark Mania, but I wasn't sure what. So every week I focused on a piece, that was it. Every week I focused on a piece, and if I didn't have a piece I wanted to focus on, I started a new piece. So this was started on the 11th of May, and this is Unicorn Valley of the Waterfalls Story Keep, which has gotten hooked inside itself. One second, my apologies. So, by Jan Patrick Krasny, artwork by Jan Patrick Krasny, and this one is charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. Excuse the threads, the mess of threads. This is usually kept very much on a scroll frame, so the threads never get this tangled and untidy because it's kept ready to go. So I worked in a diagonal 10 by 10 blocks all the way this way, and as you can see I'm doing it all the way back. However, on the way back I noticed that the fabric is warping slightly, so I can't get tension in the middle. I am struggling a bit with that, to be honest. This was also going really well. I actually got 320 stitches on it a day for much of a June, July, August and September, but then in September I was struck down by illness and I didn't really want to work on it. And then when I came back to stitching, which you will see in a bit, I ran out of one of the colours, 152, which is like a dusty pink, and while I was waiting for that to be shipped with me, I didn't want to stitch on this really, and I haven't gotten back into the habit. It's going to be very big. This is my first Heaven and Earth design, but it's already not my last. And yeah, I love the detail, I love the birds. I'm thinking about adding some backstitch to the birds, but I'm not sure. We'll see how it looks when I've got the lake, and there's a big waterfall here, starts here, it goes down to Pagoda, there's some ducks. So I find it really restive, to be honest. A lot of my cross stitch is just things that I find really peaceful. I think I would do that 1/1 if I started over, but it is stitched 2/1 on 25 count easy grid from Swagart. Magic count? Easy guide? Easy guide, I think. Then on the 25th of May, it was time for another new start, so I started Be Well by the Drawn Thread. I did this on Ada, so I didn't do any of the specialty stitches, even though I did want to, because the diagram was for linen and I didn't know how to translate it. So I've still not done any specialty stitches. But I really enjoyed this piece. I think it's really beautiful, and I used the same leftover threads as I did for this one so that they kind of match. And there's a tassel, and yeah, just proud of this. Yeah. I also really like this fabric, and I was able to use a lot of the scraps of this fabric to fix various things in the house that needed a little bit of fabric. Then the next start, this was on the 23rd of July, so it was 2 months later, so I was patient. It doesn't end this story doesn't end this way. I started Pandemic by Long Dog Samplers. Actually, I can show you a picture, but it's a bit crumpled. This is what it will look like, and this was given away for free at the time, but now you do have to purchase it. I recommend going to the Long Dog website. There are so many gorgeous patterns. I can't start any of them because I have enough on my plate. That's what we always say, right? And this is where I'm at. So this is being stitched by me. 1/1 on 28 count, Opalescent by Zweigart. The blue is Darling by Mrs. Sada's Silks. And the orange red is Supernova by Mrs. Sada's Silks. I also have one strand of the blue non-variegated that I'm thinking about using for the border, but I did also purchase a purple variegated for the border as well. So I haven't completely decided, but I think I'm going to stick for the blue, I think. But that's what it's looking like so far. My vague goal when I started it was to finish both of these 2 pages. This is the bottom right of the pattern, so I could stitch 2020 in 2020. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. As I've said many times, I was struck down by a mystery illness during September, October and November, but I still managed to get quite a bit done, and I'm very happy that I'm sort of learning how to use the variegated threads. So these two are the first I stitched. Not as happy with those as I am, for example, with this bird, where the tail is the main variation. Yes, so I'm learning how to use the variegated threads to make an effect that I like, and I'm enjoying stitching one over one on 28 count. It also meant I could buy a reasonably sized piece of fabric. I was going to say something about this. Oh yes, back stitching. I'm doing the back stitching with one strand of 12 weight sulky thread. For the animals, which are in the blue, I'm using just a dark blue. In fact, I think it should be in here. Nope, that's my darling. This is the, I'll take it out of the bag. This is the dark blue I'm using for the backstitch on the animals. And then for any animal that is just backstitch, so there's some spiders that are just backstitch, some butterflies, then I use this, I'm planning on using, haven't got there yet, this variegated red and dark brown from, again, Sulky 12 weight. And I got these from tig.se, which is a, I think, Danish, could be Finnish, I think it's Danish, online store here in Scandinavia. It came very quickly, I think, so there were no problems with the delivery or anything like that. Yes, that is my pandemic. So then in August, at the beginning, on the 3rd, I felt like I needed something small to, because obviously I've got the pandemic, I've got this huge Heaven and Earth design, just need something small to finish really quickly. So I started a magazine, she got a freebie magazine to try out a web app, and it was this Do Good Recklessly badge, which has not been FFO'd. I'm planning on making this into a cushion or a magnet for my workplace. We've just moved in to a new office, which is more central, and we like to focus on giving back to the community, so I thought this would be a good reminder on the fridge. Not sure yet. It's a bit of a weird thing to throw at someone, but I finished that 1 month later on the 4th of September. On the 8th of September, I started a Mill Hill kit. This was a secret from this channel, but it no longer is, because it was going to be a Christmas present, and that is not going to happen. Alright, I can't take it out of the plastic. It has become the plastic. So it was this kit, Make Things Grow by Mill Hill. It comes with all of the thread, unsorted, and all of the beads, and of course the chart. And not much else to say really. This is my first time ever using beads. I haven't used them yet. I thought it was going to be a lot smaller when I ordered it, but it's huge. This is the size of it, and this is where I'm at. I've finished the sun. There's only beads left to go on the sun. The flower is mostly done, and I've been working really on getting the background and the brown sign, so I can get a feel for how long it is, and maybe start on some of the border. That seems boring. This is on 14 count perforated paper, which is not my favourite to stitch on. The needle doesn't stick in the perforated paper the same way it would with fabric, so you can't stitch one-handed really. It's harder, at least. You can do it, but it's harder, especially when you're coming up. You've got to really push it through before you move your hand. So, as a workaround, I have invented this wooden frame, cardboard frame, from things we were going to recycle, sellotaped some elastic to the corners, and I'm holding it in this. As you can see, my solution is not perfect, but it does mean I can put this in a stand and still stitch on it two-handed, which I love. So it's working. I would say it's working. I don't enjoy this as much because of the problems with the perforated paper, and the cardboard frame, so I don't stitch on this as often as I should, but I do really like it. It's very fresh. Alright, I'm going to take a very short break to grab a drink of water and make sure that you're still recording, because this camera has a habit of turning off on me, so I don't want that to happen. And now comes one of my favourite projects, and probably the one I have spent the most time on in December this year, and that is Beacon Daybreak by Dimensions. Just checking, I don't still have the pattern on it. This is what it currently looks like. As you can see, I have finished the top right of the pattern, and I'm working my way down for the bottom right. I'll shoot the picture in here somewhere of what it will look like when it's finished. I'm dropping it. I have, seriously, this pattern has been an absolute joy to stitch on for the last... This pattern has been an absolute joy to stitch on for the last couple of weeks. So yeah, that's what it's looking like. I just love how close to life the picture is to the stitching, and I'm really excited to finish this and have it up on the wall. I am just in awe. I actually opened this cross-stitch kit. This is a kit from Dimensions, as I said, so all of the fabric and the floss comes included in the kit, but I only opened this after I bought it secondhand because I bought it as unopened, brand new in packaging, but it was actually started, so I opened it to make sure that everything was in there even though it had been started, and sort of just started stitching. Pulled out all of the gross bad stitches that the person who had it before hadn't read the instructions, so all of the they'd only done about 10 stitches and half of them were in the wrong colour and were a full cross instead of half, so I'm glad that I was able to rescue this and put some serious work into it because I absolutely adore this piece. These are just side tensioners. I just bought them on Etsy, and they pull the edges tighter. I don't have any opinions on them. I don't really like them because they have these hooks on the back, which is what got caught in my other piece, which can stab you, but they're alright. I'm probably using them wrong. So yes, I started that on the 9th of October. And definitely not going to be my last Dimensions Gold Petite, I can tell you that for sure. Okay, there's 4 more WIPs. So I went a bit crazy, obviously, while I was sick. I was kind of grasping for anything to feel better. So the next piece I started was actually on my best friend's birthday. She requested that I stitch Sisters by Amy Brown for her, which is a picture of 2 women or angels with big sweeping wings and big sweeping skirts. This is how far I've got. I'm stitching this 2/1 on 32 count, easy guide by Zweigart. It's 2/1 like 10th stitch, so I didn't make that mistake again. And I'm stitching it on this gigantic Q-snap currently, which I think is too big because it's very uncomfortable for my arm to get to the top. I have to go like, sort of like this, which isn't great. But it's an experiment. This Q-snap was bought for this project because it fits the entire project on this one Q-snap without having to move the Q-snaps. But like I said, it is an experiment, so I'll see how I go. I'm obviously stitching this extreme cross country, which is where you stitch the Heaven and Earth design and all of the colours, all of one colour until you run out and then you switch to another colour. I started with the second most populous colour, which was 3599, I believe, which is this kind of dark grey. The most populous colour, the most used colour is black. There are a heck of a lot of black stitches. And then once I finish this second most used colour, I will swap to going from the least used colour until I get back to black. So I'll be changing colour quite a lot in the very beginning and then probably not that much as you get further and further around the colour list. I love this piece, I love working on it, the 2/1 10th stitch. I'm actually doing continental, so this is the back, which you can kind of see through, I guess. So it is using a bit more of the thread than I thought it would, but I'm still enjoying it a hell of a lot. I really enjoy this kind of stitching, and I think I probably will stitch all of my heids from now on as ECC because it's very, very enjoyable. It's just very relaxing. You don't have to change colour, you don't have to thread your needle, and I thread my needle very quickly. But yeah, I'm just enjoying this piece. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. I actually have a picture of it even. I think I showed it to you last time. This is my picture. And if you can see lots of notes and things, those are colours I forgot to order. Okay. So seals, which is in just a food pack. This is a design called Togetherness by a lady called Elizabeth Stewart Designs, that's the company. And it's 2 seals together in the snow. We have a photo of it somewhere. Oh, I'll get back to it. Here is the photo of the 2 seals. And this is the first time I've stitched 2/1 on linen. I literally chose this piece to try it out with because I thought it was small enough and easy enough to do. So here we are. I've got most of the bottom seal, and then I wanted to see what the evergreen branches would look like, which are amazing. I love the evergreen. There are sections of this, particularly here, you can see there's big blobs of empty space. Those will be stitched 1/1, so petit point. But yeah, it's a lot of white and grey and white, so it's not my favourite project to stitch. I was hoping to finish it before Christmas and turn it into a little cushion to replace the Be Well for the Christmas period. That obviously didn't happen because I got bored of the all white. But I will finish this. I don't think it would take very long. And I started that on the 25th of October. Something else. Oh yes, so I was going to say on the weekend, this one, reverse track. As you can see, you have to change colour a lot. And there's a lot of different numbers of strands and different stitches. Well, mainly cross stitch or half cross, but there's a lot to keep track of. And I was originally using something that I'm going to very generously call a photocopy. We don't have a photocopier, so what it actually is a photograph I took and then printed out on our black and white printer. And it's fine to a point. The edges where I've folded a lot are faded, so you can't really read the symbols. And also Dimensions uses colours. It uses blue, red and black for the symbols. So obviously that wasn't working very well. So eventually I was talking to a friend and I said, I wish that I could just highlight the chart instead of the photocopy. And she asked me why I wasn't doing that. And I said, well, to resell the charts. And she asked why. I didn't really have an answer for her. I'm not sure that they would sell for most of these anyway, because they are, without the threads, it's much harder to stitch a Dimensions kit. So long story short, she promised to scribble on my chart and ruin it if that would help me to highlight it, and it did, and I'm not highlighting directly on the chart. So no, I hate ruining things. I've got this fear of ruining things. My snag nabbit was on this project apparently, I'm just going to save that. I have this fear of ruining anything, so I try and keep everything in perfect as it came. Obviously not the threads, but the chart, I try and keep it as it came. I'm trying very hard to overcome that feeling, so I actually, in not the next, but the final new style I'm going to show you, cut up the chart. So I'm becoming a more confident person. But anyway, that was my little story about ruining the chart for this one. So I'm actually highlighting as I go now, and it's so much easier. So much easier. Once I started doing that, that's when I started stitching really fast. Okay, so seals, Togetherness, I started on the 25th of October, and then on the 14th of December, I decided to start, let's see, just a little Christmas stitch for an Enchanted Stitching an Enchanted Stitching challenge that needed a lot of red, I think. So I decided to start this little freebie. It's a bit tricky to show you without crunching. Okay, so here is the picture I'm stitching. It is this post box with a robin button and some beads. So I might actually end up beading on this before I bead on the Mill Hill kit, because the Mill Hill kit is just so big. And I'm actually doing really well. So it says in the magazine it should take 4 hours of stitching time. This is actually 4 hours of my stitching time, nowhere near finished. I still need to add a hat. There's quite a lot of snow up here, there's another fence here, then obviously there's the ground, the beads and the robin. It's not that far off, but it is quite far off. Obviously stitching at this in hand, I haven't even bound the edges. It should be finished soon. This is the back, and again the front, and I have no excuses. I just started stitching Beacon at Daybreak instead and never came back to this one. But I should finish it. It's very close to being finished. On this one I believe it's 14 count Ada. It's definitely not Dimensions threads. They snare up a lot more easily than Dimensions threads I've ever done for me. They're not difficult to work with, but they're more tricky, I would say. I have to use very short lengths. So, slower than the magazine, definitely. I actually recorded my time because I wanted to know if I would match the magazine time, which I did not. In any way. Okay. And then the final piece is actually, this is my 1st of January, new year, new start. And it is Peaceful Stream by Dimensions. So this is just a normal Dimensions counted cross stitch kit, but it's very, very lovely. It's stitched on a 16 count Dove Grey Ada with the kit fabric and the kit threads. And obviously I've only had 1 day of progress on it so far. So this, on this gigantic Q-snaps, is what it looks like. So this is the porch here, the door frame, and then the first tree and the second tree. Sorry. I'm quite lazy, and because this is quite big, I don't turn it over when it's in my stand, so instead of ending the threads, I bring them to the front to remind myself to end them later. Should have cleaned that up, didn't. Love the colours, love all the greens and pinks. I'm trying to get to the edge so I know where the edge is, and on this one, this is the one where I cut off the floss key from the chart, so I have them in 2 separate places, which means the chart goes here, and I can highlight and read off it very easily. And the key actually lives with the fabric. I would show you the fabric, but it's actually on top of the chart. Here are all of the floss colours and a highlighter. So floss colours first, I guess. Lot of green. Lot of green in here, but really lovely. And I am using the organiser that came with the kit for now. I'm not sure that I like it. I may switch to a packo. I do have a spare packo. It's not too bad for now. I don't know why there are Ada strands everywhere. Yes, I was going to say, I use these highlighters. They are mild liners. They are from, I think, Zebra Company in Korea. They highlight without obscuring what's underneath, and they're very mild colours, so I really like them. You can see, for example, if you made a mistake and you need to go back, you can see what symbol is underneath the highlight. Now my key doesn't want to go back in with my fabric, with my threads. But yes, that is it for 2020 and a little bit of 2021. I'm loving the Dimensions kits. I'm so glad that I found Luda, cross stitch with Luda, here on Flosstube, because she really inspired me to buy these two, and I love them. They are amazing. I don't really have any goals for 2021. I had a lot of goals for 2020. I think one of my goals is to start a few projects in Mania. So if we count how many WIPs I have now, works in progress, Pandemic, Make Things Grow, Beacon at Daybreak, Sisters, Seals, Postman, Peaceful Stream, Wheelbarrows, Words to Live By, and Unicorn Valley. So that's 10. So I guess I can add another 10 smaller pieces. No, I don't know. I would like to take part more properly in Mania. I think I have a lot of fear of starting new projects because, again, I don't like to ruin things. So it would be nice to start a few things all at once and get that feeling out of the way. But I don't like having too many WIPs. It makes me feel a bit stressed, I guess, that I'm not going to finish them all in time. So I'm not sure. I haven't decided. I know that I'm going to start one for my birthday, and I think it's going to be a Dimensions kit. My birthday's in April. But it could be a Mirror Mania. But I think I found this. Sorry, Russell. I found this on Swedish eBay for it's Dimensions Gold African Lions. I don't know what the glare is. But the fabric has been prepared. The threads are all sorted because they're in the old style. So this would be quite an easy one to start. But I don't have any more Q-snaps or frames. So I guess I'm stuck with the number that I have, 10 for now. But yeah, I think I will start this on my birthday, or I might start another similar one with wolves, which are my favourite animals. This one has the fabric ready. Big plus, having had to make this ready to go yesterday. This again is another Q-snap that is far too big for my arms to reach through. It would have to be up here somewhere. So this is another experiment. I think the Q-snap should probably go the other way around, but the fabric wasn't quite long enough. We'll see. Yeah. I don't think I have anything left to tell you other than I love Dimensions kits and I have a problem. They're all amazing. This needle minder was bought for me by my sister and my mum for Christmas, and it's actually a lot stronger than it looks. It can really hold the entire page of pattern in place, so it's pretty good. I don't ever put the pattern on the fabric directly. I always have a plain piece of printer paper or a tissue in between, just to make sure that I'm not highlighting on the fabric. So just so you're aware. But yes, that is everything I had for today. There's a lot of talking that I did, so I'm going to go, I guess, edit together this video. Actually, I'll give you a very brief, more in-depth life update. So what happened was, well, we think it was a very minor fall in September that triggered a large concussion for much of October and November. That's kind of what our current thinking is. Essentially, I had a really bad headache every day for much of the end of September and October. It was like a migraine, but worse. If I could stand up, I was pacing the apartment. A lot of spending time in the bathroom. If I could eat, I had to call the paramedics out because I couldn't stand up a few days. Had to go and get some scans on my head to make sure it wasn't something serious. It was nothing that they could see on the scans, which is why we think it was just a concussion. And I'm now going to see a physio kind of once a month, twice a month, to make sure that it doesn't come back. So we're not entirely sure it's a concussion, but that was a really, really hard time in my life, and I'm so thankful for everyone who reached out and made sure I was okay, or offered help, or covered time at work, things like that. So just thank you if you're watching. It was not a great time, but I was taken care of by the specialists. I do feel like the doctors just kind of wanted to give me painkillers and get rid of me. I've had a lot of different painkillers. Not all of them worked. In fact, none. In fact, that was kind of the problem, was that this really bad headache wouldn't go away with painkillers. So I think in the end I had about a month off work. I probably went back to work too early, but we have a big project ending in January, so I wanted to still have some Christmas vacation and also get this project finished. But it was, yeah, it was tough. I'm still not 100%. I have been back to work now for a long time. I still have some headaches, but they do respond to painkillers for the most part, so it's not been too bad. But yeah, there was a time there where I thought things would go a different way. I'm very thankful that they didn't. Alright, that has been literally everything. The fish is doing well. We bought some shrimps. I bought some shrimps accidentally. I went in to buy my fish some live food, so he eats insects really, and I buy him live baby mosquitoes, which he has every night. So it's really good for his metabolism and diet, and a bit icky for me, but I do everything I can for him. So, but while I was in there, the man said, "Oh, by the way, you asked about shrimps back in March before I even had a fish, and we finally have some in stock. Would you like some?" So I bought 8 shrimps. Actually got 9, but luckily that was lucky because one of the shrimps was very sick with a very contagious disease. So I popped her in a different tank that I happen to have for growing plants. It's very small. It's not a very good life for her or him. I don't know how to sex shrimps, but they're going to die very soon anyway. But the 8 shrimps that we have turned into about 15. They have babies. We have tiny, tiny shrimps, and then we have juveniles now. They were blue jellies, if you care. But I'm not breeding them for colour, so I'm not... Breeding them for colour means you kill off the ones, or you segregate the ones that aren't the right colour. So I do have some browns in there from the babies that came with the shrimps. In the beginning I thought that my fish would eat all of the baby shrimps, but it seems that some of them are too fast, so that's good. Or they just had too many babies. I say good, but it does mean I'm going to have to buy a bigger tank soon because I already have way too many shrimps for a 30 litre. But yes, so they're happy, the water quality is still really good. I measure it very regularly. I'm an insane person who really loves her fish. That's it. That's everything I've got, I think, for real this time. Plans for 2020, like I said, I'm winging 2021. 2020 punched me a few times when I wasn't expecting it. I think it did all of us. So I'm gonna let 2021 kind of just drift in like a tide. My friends and I like to say that we're approaching the situation with grace. So we're accepting what's coming, and we're going to be graceful and kind of like not place heavy expectations on the year because it didn't work out too well last year. But that was me. Thank you for watching. If you stayed this long, you probably stitching and your hands were too full to skip. I hope you guys are all doing really well. I hope you are reading or stitching away, and whatever brings you joy, I hope you make time for that in your day. I have been Kat from Kat Talks, and this is your freedom to go on to the next ad/video. Bye bye.